Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Friday, the 29th of May. All right, now as we come out of the North American session, just getting you set up for Friday's trading, the only real number to me to really take a good close look at is the jobless claims. Now, this has really gone off the boil, right? It was a very high impacting number. It showed the raw nerve of the impact of the pandemic. And if anything, the numbers are getting slightly better, which shows you, as the rollbacks of the lockdowns, you'd expect this to change very quickly as the US sort of goes to being open. So what does it do for us? Well, once again, it relieves the pressure on the global economy, means there's no need to panic, and the US dollar safe haven trade is starting to take a lot of shape. You can see here on the dollar index, it is, it hasn't been an easy trade to the downside because the market is so non-believing of any sort of trends that are forming. But the dollar is now sort of breaking down, and we do have that sort of resistance line forming here. So just around 99 on the dollar index. And if I come across the other charts, you'll start to see, and I was saying this yesterday, right? We have got a setup here for a potential, I've been calling it like 200-300 points down, maybe even 500 points down in the dollar. I can see these currencies bouncing, and they have done so again from that initial drive, say 2 days ago, where they popped higher, pulled right back to the support trend lines, and now they're sort of starting to form shape again. Now the euro was the real mover again. Check out sterling; it is trading sideways, but I tell you what, a break above this 123.45 level should see it balloon to the top side. And the dollar CAD, looked like it was going to have a bit of a pullback. Never really got going as oil sort of fell, but then started to rally again, right? So a lot of weird things happening with the oil price. And that's pretty fair considering last month it was at minus $40 or the futures price. So there's a big issue around storage and the rollover of the futures dates. So we'll see how that plays out. But all in all, what we're trying to do, this is what you should be thinking of every day. You're trying to isolate the best trading opportunities. Now, these pairs here are already sort of trending higher. Euro a little bit trickier than Aussie and Kiwi. The one that hasn't caught up is sterling. I expect that to go. Once again, we get some good news out of the infection rate in the UK. If that changes and improves, this thing should grow some wings, and there's potentially 500 or 600 points on the top side. So that's where we are at the moment. Now, the battle lines are clearly drawn here. Now, now that we've had these pullbacks and flush outs and these sorts of things, we've got very specific levels here. The Aussie and Kiwi do look a little bit fatigued. Does that mean they'll drop back down? I don't know. But I tell you what, momentum is fading a little bit. And this is where it's going to come back to. These economies do have, tricky, like crap situations. So do they go or not? Well, I still think there's room to the top side. We may see some false breaks, maybe not. It's one of those things on Fridays. We do sometimes get that last big move because the liquidity pulls out of the market and there's less interest and it gives the currencies room to move. So this could work for us or against us. Obviously, we've got a geopolitical backdrop and that news backdrop, if you just check this out, I'm looking at this all the time, right? And I can notice when things change, the news services are really struggling for news, right? If they're spraying Donald all over the place, talking about social media regulation and these sorts of things, yeah, that's all well and good. That's just Donald being Donald. But there's no massive drive here to have anything else. I mean, you can see the US-China tension. Obviously, Hong Kong's a hot topic. But you know what? It's not all over the place. A lot of them are a bit of opinion pieces, which is I don't need anyone else's opinion. I just want to know what's going on, okay, factually. So the news, it's dissipated. Doesn't mean Trump can't drop a bombshell or something else comes out that really impacts things. So we'll see how that plays out. But all in all, if I just bring you back to the Forex Daily Market Insight, what you'll see is, market conditions are pretty good. The majors are trading very well technically. Now, there's been no major change here. The only change in the major instruments here is, the support and resistance levels have changed. The general structure of my preference for the trades, like being long euro, Aussie, Kiwi, short dollar CAD now, just going short dollar Swiss. It's broken down and resistance now 96.60. this is all in play. Now, I'm trying to look at this pragmatically and think, well, the US, the whole coronavirus pandemic is easing. The US dollar safe haven trade should be completely unwound. And what we're going to see is these are my medium-term targets, and that's happening, right? Okay, so that's where they are. Now, when you come back to looking at the, and obviously the one that sticks out is sterling. It has been trading sideways in a big range, but I think it will play catch up if it breaks through this sort of resistance level. And that's what I've been sort of focusing on all week. It just hasn't got there. Now, the chart, it may look a little bit different. Yeah, it's from about 3 or 4 days ago. But I've got Trendline Trader hooked up. I don't need to change the chart on my MT4 where I'm going to execute, because the order is following the trend line down. So it's in the right place. I don't need to go and keep changing my chart every day. Sure, the key technical level changes, but I don't even need to follow that. I've updated the site here just for your benefit, because I don't go chasing. Once I set these orders up, unless something fundamentally shifts, I'll leave it there until the end of the week. If it's executed or not, I'll cancel it or close it out come Friday close. Now, just keeping an eye on things. The data doesn't appear to me to be impacting, but we do have some CPI numbers out of the Eurozone, GDP numbers out of Canada, and some US data here. If I just scroll down a touch, personal spending, you got Powell speaking. I don't think any of these US numbers are really going to come into play, right? If anything, if they're a little bit better or as expected, then what I think we'll see is the US dollar drop further. So this is the tricky one, right? I still think even with strong data, US numbers, US dollar drops because it means things are getting back to normal. Whereas usually if we saw strong US numbers, you would buy dollars, right? So it's a little bit tricky. And the funny thing is you can't definitely say when that relationship is going to change. But right now, I would think if everything's back to normal and we're getting closer to sort of normal conditions, the safe haven trade needs to be unwound a bit further before we start to see the data, strong numbers, strong US numbers. We see strong borrowing of the US dollar. But as I said, it's pretty fickle and that can change. But you know what? You can't sit there waiting and hoping it changes. You just got to trade accordingly. So that's where we are at the moment, guys. It's interesting markets. I said we've got a bit of a trend here on the on a lot of the major pairs. Focus, on the easiest trade setups. Now, if you don't like the idea of getting long here, well, you know what? There's a chance of a break trade to the downside. I still think the dollar falls, and look at dollar yen. It's just trading sideways, so don't worry about dollar yen. Euro, if you're not long euro, sort of through 110, sort of 20 around here, you've probably missed it. You're probably looking for a pullback. And to me, I'm still waiting for sterling to pop to the top side and give me some cash on that one. All right. Anyway, that's how I see it. Hopefully you're making some cash. Hang in there. And if I don't speak to you before the end of the weekend, probably won't. But have a good weekend. Cheerio.